So now we're recording. I just want you to introduce yourself and then tell me what kind of work you do, or maybe what kind of work you have done since everyone's changed around, and how long you've been with an extension.
Well, okay. Hello, I'm Beth Clausen, and I started with Extension in 2001. I was hired as the county recycling coordinator, master gardener coordinator, and natural resources, sort of a combined role, which turned into 3 distinct burdens or plates of work over time. And then I evolved into doing more natural resourcing work, becoming the state expert in the Master Composter program, kind of springing off of that. The extension, they reorganized, right? With the economic collapse, we had a reorganization, and I think that happened in extensions across the nation. And so as a consequence, then the Master Gardener program became regionalized, so I was no longer in charge of that. Then we looked at the recycling program for the county and realized that there was a stronger administration component than there was an education component, and so chose to no longer do that through extension. And that just left composting, and then the last compost expert retired from campus, and that left with no support. And then I had to rethink my whole career halfway through. And then of course I had my eyes on an extension director position, but then that was completely eliminated in our state.
What state are you in?
And I'm from Michigan. Oh, hi, I'm Beth Clausen from Michigan. And so, and I was in a small county in southern, the lower part of Michigan. But hold up my Michigan hand, and it's way down here in the southwest corner.
I'm from Chicago, so.
So yeah, so for you, but for the audience, you might want to keep that in there.
No, I
it's
will.
funny.
I will, yeah.
Yeah. So then I moved into community food systems because of the home hort background and the composting background. But the community food systems work group really wanted to be more focused on farmers markets and developing businesses instead of helping people in small farms, which a lot of the big ag guys didn't really want to deal with, those tiny farms. And so I started working with them, and so that was sort of like the trout swimming up the stream. And so that created a situation that was a little uncomfortable. And so I just went and said, can I just do natural resources again like I always wanted to in the first place? And they're like, yes, you can. You can do water quality. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. And so since then, the last 5 years, 6 years now, I have been doing natural resources, water quality, specifically water quality, and overseeing the Michigan Clean Boats, Clean Waters program, and that's a program for boat inspection, education. So we educate the volunteers that are going out to their launches and doing programs to inspect boats, because we don't have a statewide inspection, a mandatory inspection like so many states do. Michigan, it's all voluntary. The second largest number of boats in the nation, and it's a voluntary boat inspection. I know, shake your head, but they're working on it. So it has a lot to do with money, because we have the Great Lakes. A great deal of our funding has to go to Great Lakes protection, so there's not much left for the over 11,000 inland lakes that are left. So there's so much water, there's so many lakes, there's so many boat launches, and we have 3 DNR guys? Yeah, and no money. So there you have it. That's my background.
Just like everybody, mishmash of everything.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll let you take off from your notes and kind of just share stuff with me, and then I'll see what other things
What other things you want to know? Did I cover everything? Okay, so the one statement, I wish I had known. I wish I had known not to be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We come in, we're strongly and fiercely independent, And so you should be, because Extension expects us to do things on our own, to plan our own events, to do our own budgeting, to do all of those things. But at some point, we have to stop and say, I can ask for help. People are willing to help me. Extension is fabulous for helping, but you have to ask. So don't get yourself in a hole. Don't get bound up. Get the help. As soon as you realize you're not getting things done, even just a little bit not done, ask for that help. That's my advice to new Extension educators.
So for agents, because you're kind of an agent level and a regional level, so you've kind of done a little bit.
I'm statewide.
Statewide, so
Yeah.
statewide now. So it sounds
Yeah.
like you've done the kind of the gamut of things.
I did, and I've been in 3 different counties, and I've had 4 different extension directors, or 4 different district directors, and I've been through 3 extension directors proper. So
We like to ask, what do you wish specialists? What would you recommend to new extension specialists who don't have the experience of being at a county level or anything?
campus specialists,
Yeah.
let us know who you are, kids. I'm in a county that's 2 hours away from campus. I get to campus 3 or 4 times a year. That doesn't give me time to go visit all the new specialists. So it would be really helpful is if you find out you have an extension appointment, immediately join that work group meeting, that work team meeting. So if you're in natural resources, or if you're in corn, or if you're, I don't know, I don't care what you're in, fisheries, Sea Grant, if you're a new extension specialist, join that webinar, get on that Zoom, go to that meeting, because we don't know who you are. We're many, you're one. It's so much easier if you come to us and let us know. Introduce yourself, maybe give us a talk about what your expertise is, so when we know we need help, we know who to ask. Thank you.
How do you balance things like promotion and job security and family harmony, and like work-life balance with
Oh my goodness. I work a lot of Saturdays, because when do people go out on boats and get their fishing and their boating done? It's not Monday night. It's Saturdays. And before that, I went to a lot of municipal meetings, because recycling required contracts from each municipality in the county. So a lot of night meetings. So I just made sure that when I took they don't really give you comp time per se, but when I took my balance time off and gave myself free time, I made sure it was those times where I would be able to be with my husband or be with my family, or those time frames. So for example, my husband worked second shift for many years, and and that was a new job at just probably like 10 years before he retired. And so I just shifted my work day into that time frame, so I had that extra hour in the morning with my husband, or that extra hour at night, giving me that allowance, and then worked that extra hour at the office or whatever I had to do to make that difference up. Yeah. So it's hard. It's really, if you got babies and stuff, it's even harder. But again, ask for help. If you need to have time, if you got it, if those kids are a priority, then make sure you have a backup always for every program. And that way, if you gotta run, your program can still carry on. So.
Was there any advice that someone gave you early on, or early lesson that you remember that from a mentor that kind of sticks out, or things that you kind of came to this realization? I mean, some of it you told me, but sometimes you have those moments where a few years in you think, oh, this is it, or I did this right, or I should have done this.
Well, I had the good fortune of having several seasoned educators in my office when I started, and it was easy to get feedback from them, or get my articles looked at quickly without having to mail them off to somewhere and wait for weeks, and or get second opinions. And, hey, Mark, I got a bug. This is what I think it is. What do you think it is? So that was very easy for me. So don't be afraid don't be afraid, even if they're not in your area, but if they have any little bit of, can give you a second, and they got a second. But I think, I got a lot of great advice. And so, but some of the, I tend to be chatty, and so, so some of the best advice was, take some time to focus on learning when to not interrupt people, when to not talk to people. So I did spend a lot of time working on my observation skills of facial cues, or state that somebody was in, their emotional state. So I learned to heighten my emotional awareness of other people's emotional state. And so I have to preclude that with, I'm an emotional thinker anyway, so it was a little bit easier to tune in and go, oh, I'm sorry, I'll come back when you're not, don't seem so busy. So pay attention. It's okay to visit with your colleagues, but pay attention if it looks like this is not the time, then yeah, just say, I'll come back when you're free. But as far as career-wise, I think the best advice was, make sure you get your reports in. Get those reports in. Get those numbers up. Get your civil rights evaluations. Get those evaluations. And then mostly I think it's a mantra with everyone, but so I have to repeat that. That's really important. And we're not all good at it. I'm terrible about trumpeting my own horn. And so it's very common, even still, after 17 years, I will still take my year-end evaluation report and run it by one of my colleagues, because invariably there's something I did that I forgot I did, because it was a no-brainer for me, but they thought it was great. And so, yeah, go again, ask for that colleague collaboration with kind of everything you do. It helps. It really helps. It gives you ideas, broadens your brain. So,
is there anything else you would like to add?
When did I feel like I had a handle on the job? I'm looking. My first year on the job, I felt like a fish out of water. My office was a storeroom, and the previous extension educator saved everything. So the file drawers, I had 4 filing cabinets and not a single drawer closed, because they were so stuffed full. So thank the Lord for Master Gardener volunteers. They love to volunteer. So I had them help me sort through all the cabinets, and if it was something readily available on the internet, what was in the cabinet had to go. And that actually reduced my cabinets down to 3 when we were done. So over time now, I have no filing. I have the drawers in my desk. I'm down to none. So all that paper's gone. So technology, I embrace technology. That was something I had to be told to do too. But it took a year. It took a year to figure out what my job was, how I fit in my own job. And then it took 3 years to feel like I belonged, to start really feeling like this is my home, this is where I'm going to stay. So, so for new educators, give yourself that time. We see so many people leave after the first year, and I think part of it's because they don't feel like they belong yet. Give yourself that time. You will. Once you embrace what you're doing. Unless you absolutely hate it and realize it's the wrong thing. But most of those guys usually leave within the first 6 months. But if you're there for that first year, give it 2 more. Yeah, that's my advice on that one.
Great. Anything else?
That's it.
Great.
That's all I got for you.